Because when you look at this team, man, they have playmakers galore. They have an elite quarterback in Joe Burrow. They have a defense that played really well. And in fact, you can make the argument that the Bengals deserve to win the Super Bowl because their defense outplayed the Rams, particularly at the point of attack. The one issue was the pass protection, the lack of consistent protection for Joe Burrow, not only in the postseason, but throughout the regular season, is an issue. If they can rectify that issue and continue to get those guys, their young guys, to take another step in their development, this absolutely should be a team that we talk about, because the other thing that I discovered in this postseason run, they're really well coached. They played the game the right way. They're going to be a handful for teams over the next few years.
Buck, you talked about the foundation, and the hardest thing in sports is to get a franchise, a Super Bowl caliber winning franchise quarterback. The Bengals have that in Joe Burrow. Okay, now what do we do? How do we build our roster to supplement Joe Burrow and the playmakers we have? As you mentioned, 7 sacks last night. The offensive line, it's a clear weakness there. So free agency, spend big there. Do we get vets or go through the draft? But also another area of concern for me is the corner position. We showed the Eli Apple getting cooked a few times. They have to address that as well. But the Bengals at least know, okay, here are our glaring flaws that we need to fix, and you have the offseason to do it. But we just can't assume that they're going to be back every year. Yes, they have the foundation. Yes, they have the quarterback. But every year is different. Every circumstance, every season is different. Things break your way. They should be back. They should be in contention. But it's never a guarantee, Jim. But at least they have the hardest part is Joe Burrow. Now let's take the offseason. How do we support this guy for the future?
No question, Mark. But the one thing I love most about the Bengals is what you heard out of them last night. They know they can't take it for granted that they're just going to get back next year. History tells us those things. We think back to the Dolphins and Dan Marino after he went to a Super Bowl his second year, and some thought they were just going to get back every year. It didn't happen. Even Patrick Mahomes wins a Super Bowl, and people talk about winning multiple championships, and they haven't won since. I like that I heard Joe Burrow say this is only a beginning. We have a lot of work to do. I like hearing that from Zach Taylor, that we know that every year is different. It is different in and of itself. So from that standpoint, they already have the right mindset going into the offseason. And now with that much cap space, the draft picks that they have, you can see them tinker with this lineup and try and make it stronger. But they have everything they need. Everything is in place now to contend for quite some time.
And you would have to think as well that with the elite, and yes, I will use that word, even though only 2 years in, an elite level quarterback, the Bengals might be a destination. People want to play with Joe Burrow. Something to consider here as they look to the offseason now as the AFC champions. The NFC champions, the Super Bowl champions, have some issues to think about in the offseason as well. They do not have a lot of cap space, projected $14.1 million. Andrew Whitworth has not retired yet, so that, I mean, that could change. It is expected that he is leaning in that direction. Fifth lowest cap space here, according to our friends at Over the Cap. Here's Steve White with Rams GM Les Snead.
Les, just got to ask you just your feelings now, because you helped put this team together. Guys who were homegrown, that were developed, the big superstars you went out and got. It ended with this. All worth it, right?
Definitely worth it. I think, didn't John Madden say this was the highest of high that you can experience in football? But I give everyone you just talked about, right? Players, coaches, every man and woman in this organization, they climbed the mountain tonight. And they got to the highest point. And that one, the journey's worth it. It's why I'm wearing this hat. Not broken, and talked about it a lot, being anti-fragile. When you face adversity, you take a couple steps back, and you gotta be agile in the moment. And this group's been doing it right a lot since that Green Bay loss, where we lost that third game in a row. So that's what this hat means. Now, it's got a bigger meaning. With Biddy and Bose, they're doing impactful things, but that's why I've been wearing this one since the Green Bay game.